All right, guys. So in case you don't know, we are an affiliate for Soldier Girl Coffee Company. I'm super excited about this because they have amazing coffee. And in future episodes, you will see us drinking Soldier Girl coffee. They also have a CBD coffee. So if you need some CBD, which helps support your health in a sense of relaxation, it helps with your sleep and your overall health on a day-to-day basis, then Soldier Girl Coffee has both that and the caffeine you need. So be sure to check out the link in the show notes. Go ahead and click that, shop around, and make sure you get yourself some Soldier Girl Coffee today.
Welcome to the Business and Brews podcast, where our mission is to highlight local businesses and shed light on different industries. Welcome back to the Business and Brews show. My name, of course, is Ryan Smeltz, and I am really excited about this episode because Kurt here and I have known each other for quite some time and have finally met in person for the first time. So, Kurt, really quick, just tell us who you are and what you do.
Thanks, Ryan, for having me on the show. I appreciate the opportunity. My name is Kurt Ballash. I'm the owner of Ballash Woodworks and the co-founder of the Artisans Outreach. Ballash Woodworks is a custom fabricating shop located in Fayetteville, North Carolina. We specialize in custom residential and commercial furniture design and fabrication. Pretty much if it's made out of wood, we can do it in our shop. The only thing that we really don't do is a lot of molding. When we try to stay out of the installs, we focus more on just creating luxury, heirloom quality furniture. And then we also provide home goods, kitchen goods, furniture, like decor items, and we're getting into like laser grid games and stuff like that. And then the Artisans Outreach is the young nonprofit, not fully IRS verified yet, but we operate it as a nonprofit. It's an organization that dedicates the time and resources that we've developed back to teaching veterans how to be creative and active with their hands. I personally got a lot of value out of working with my hands, and I wanted to try to incorporate a way to be able to give that back to the veterans transitioning out of service, help them connect with the creative community to, let some of that stress out in a creative way.
Yeah, that's awesome. I've noticed that you hold classes down there. So as far as like the Artisans Outreach, how do you go about like getting in touch with the people that you can really help?
So a lot of it is self-referred. They go to my website, ballashwoodworks.com. Up top in the middle, there's the Artisans Outreach banner. You can click there, you fill out a quick form, and you're eligible for a permanent discount on all of our workshops. No matter how many you attend, it's a 20% discount on all of our workshops. As we increase funding, we plan to increase that offset. And then occasionally we get sponsored seats from other small businesses in our area that sponsor one or two seats at a time. And then we reach out to those individuals that are on that list that maybe we haven't heard from or haven't had the opportunity to come in, and we give them an opportunity to come in and take one of those workshops for free. Little things that we do within our shop to raise money, like the soda machine that was given to me by John DeGrief. Another great veteran business owner down in Fayetteville gave us a soda machine. I buy it for a couple pennies and then I sell it for a couple pennies more. And the profits we put into the Artisans Outreach Fund so we can fund another student coming through for free. And then the last way that we really use that program to make a difference is we let the veterans come in and utilize our workspace. So if they want to do woodworking, if they want to do leatherworking, we have them come in. They can rent out space with the respective artisan, and they can kind of work on their own projects, similar to the Auto Skills Center that was on post, where you can pull your car up, replace whatever it is that you need to replace, tune your engine, whatever it was. We have all that machinery that we offer back to them at a decreased cost. Basically ask them to cover the insurance cost, the overhead of that, operating that equipment, and then the rest of it's covered by the nonprofit. So although we're not fully IRS verified, we will really just utilize our resources to make a difference at this point. And once we get that finalized, once we get that IRS verification, then we'll be able to actually start pulling a lot of donations, and we can watch that program expand and maybe be able back to offering more of those workshops for free, like we did in early 2020. We received a grant from the NC Arts Council, and it was $6,500 for 50 people to come through, 50 military families, active duty family members, veterans, with their children, with their spouse, whoever it was. They were coming in, they were connecting around, making a cutting board or making a jewelry box or making a leather purse, whatever it was. The community, the connection that happens there is the true intention, the product that you're creating. That's like the byproduct.
Yeah. That's pretty cool. So you're, bringing veterans together, you're helping them, use their hands, engaging with them. We both know that's super important.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, like this question kind of applies to both of those, your business and the nonprofit, but how did you get started? Like, where did the idea come from for these things?
So I grew up in a woodworker's family. My grandfather taught my father. My father taught me. I inherited some beginner entry-level tools from my grandfather when he passed. And I just started putting them to use in my garage. My wife and I played around with pallet wood and painting things on pallet wood and making decor items and just having fun with it at the time. But I found through that fun it allowed me to focus on something. It quantified my time. It relaxed my mind. It gave me a sense of like accomplishment at the end of the day when I finished up a project. Like even if at that time things were really crude, it was like, I built that. So that sense of gratifying, that personal satisfaction that I got out of it was like, man, this is really addicting. I want to do this more. So I was going through school to be a physician assistant. And then I was offered a job as a contractor to go overseas and do security contracting as a medic on job. And during the time home, I was still building things. I found wife was at work, kids were at school, got to have something to do. Idle hands, right? Really bad for the mind, really bad for guys like us that are used to being active and doing things. So I found a way to stay active and engaged. I started building things, and then the hobby became somewhat of a profession where I was now selling things back to other people, where they were buying me upgraded tooling, so I can make their project while at the same time continue to grow my capabilities. So that's how I bootstrapped this when it was just a hobby. I was getting people to buy the tools that I needed and slowly upgrading my shop, prioritizing those upgrades based off of what I would need to accomplish the next major task. Growing, challenging myself, not getting comfortable in a certain way of doing things. I was the type of person that I would never do something the same way twice. If it was the same table build, I would do something different in the joinery to push my own skill set. And that's kind of where that addiction started leading. Self-improvement, self-betterment, increasing my patience and understanding and being around those things helped me become a better family man, helped me become a better dad, a better husband, helped me really come back from a really dark place. So when I started to see the benefits behind what I was doing for myself, I started reaching out to other veterans, like, hey, you want to come in and build something with me? I was retailing lumber out of the back of my garage, full boards, whatever it was. I was stacking piles of lumber up and extra piles, and there we go. And the next part of my business was being formed. So people would come by and they would mention wanting to do some stuff, and I'd be like, man, why don't you come in and connect with me? So a good friend of mine, he was an Air Force guy within the special operations community or whatever. He came in and he built a shadow box, but it was like a crate. So the guy can put all the service records in there and had hidden compartments in there for his stuff. It was really neat. This was a huge undertaking for a guy for his first project. So he comes in there and he makes the entire thing himself with my guidance. And then at the end of it, I look at him, I was like, so what did you think of the experience? He goes, man, it was really frustrating. But at the end of the day, like, I got a lot of value out of this. Like, I felt fulfilled when I came over here and was building this, and I watched how it was growing and then just spoke it into life. My wife telling me this is where we need to go. You need to focus on helping other veterans. Like, you get a lot of value out of this. She wanted to do the same thing, but with the arts. She was a fantastic painter, an amazing graphic designer, one of the best photographers I've ever seeing, I mean, I didn't appreciate art before I met her, and I started seeing the way that people connect with the pieces that they create. So she helped me gain a whole new appreciation. And she really kind of pushed and got us leaning in this direction. You know, how can we use what we have, what we've been blessed with, to make a positive impact in the community? How can we be the light on the hill with what we've been blessed with? So that's where the entire idea came from, was just wanting to be something better.
Yeah.
You know, contribute something more. It was like the purpose.
That's awesome. I think it sounds like a lot of the foundation of your business is kind of centered around just helping other people. So I think that's pretty cool. So you kind of got started in your garage. Said you bootstrapped it. What was, because it sounds like you were making stuff mostly for yourself at first.
Mm-hmm.
So what was like the first time someone came to you and asked you to create something? Like, what did that look like? Or if you remember the project, I'm interested to hear what it actually was.
I would say the first real professional piece, the first piece that I'm really proud of, that was going in to be a feature piece in someone's house. It was a kitchen island with a live edge resin pour on top. I did some really nice bow ties on the top of it out of walnut that kind of tied together the crack in the piece. It was the first time that I had put together something that had drawers and doors on my own. And when you looked at it from a finish standpoint, looked at it in the kitchen that it went into, it's like, this is where it was meant to be. I mean, it was the first piece that I got to sit down with a customer and listen to them go, this is my vision. And then go, okay, I got this. And when you deliver it and you see that look on their face, you go, that's why I did that. You know, you see them light up. You see the happiness in their face when that piece that they seen in their head is now in their kitchen. It was made out of solid red oak base. It had 4 simple legs. It had a shelf underneath. It had 2 soft closed drawers above that with an open shelf below it. And then a nice wide red oak. And then there was a large crack where over the time drying that slab, it opened up. And then we filled that with some clear resin. And I mean, for my first time doing resin, my first time doing my own live edge stuff, my first time putting together like my own, what I would call finished traditional woodworking, no screws, no nothing. Just the only screws in it were holding the glides inside the boxes for the top. It was all hardwood, no plywood, all mortise and tenon joinery. I mean, it was my first piece that I look back on and go, damn, I'm really proud of that one.
Yeah.
You know, and at the time, I'm sure I remember flaws, you know, when you go and deliver it or you're finishing it up, little nicks, little sanding errors, this type of thing. But picturing it in my head, I don't even see them anymore, which is the power behind. Like as a creator of something, you're always super hypercritical. You deliver your work and you're seeing every mistake that you made, but your customer never sees that stuff because their eye isn't trained to see those errors. Whereas you can every now and then you get somebody that'll look really closely at things and go, damn, you did a good job. But usually your customer, when they see it, they're looking at the larger project, you know, so and seeing that satisfaction was what really, I think, did it in pulling me towards the entrepreneur pathway, you know, versus just keeping it as a hobby and something that I get therapy out of personally, you know, when I see that satisfaction. And I did that job for relatively nothing. It was a portfolio piece. I think the guy bought me a really nice router for that, and the router is gone. So burned through a router in a year and a half, and next thing you know, make a couple $100 off the sale of the wood, and that was about it on that project. But it was good. It was a good experience. It was a good learning experience. It was good to push myself in that way.
Yeah, that's cool because so many times, like, you know, you could be a woodworker, could be the next IKEA, like mass produce stuff that you just slap together. You could sell things that the customer has to assemble, but you're creating basically custom art that the person making the purchase can like put that, and just like you describing it, I could picture it in my head. So you've stayed on that path and creating custom things for people. Obviously you gain a ton of experience. So today, are there ever any projects that come into your shop where you're like, oh, I've never done that before, like this is going to be my first time, or this is a little bit of challenge, or anything like that?
Those are my favorite projects.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that I look forward to. Like when I get someone that calls me today, I went to a consultation. I sat down with a lady, and she wants to tear apart her piano and make the keys and the fingerboards, little hammers, into a table with legs that match the style that's currently on there. So when you go in there, I have no idea what I'm getting into, but I know it starts with disassembling the piano and finding the components that she wants to incorporate into a table, right? So am I confident that I have the skill sets that are needed to attack this problem and come to a good resolution? Yes. Have I ever done it before? No. But that's the excitement behind taking jobs like that is to me, that's the most gratifying experience, the learning that comes along with something new. Like I was saying, even now, my major challenge is training the next guy.
Yeah.
If I can do everything, that only allows me to maintain a certain level of profitability, a certain level of workflow. My challenge is to now teach those skills to the next guy. So every time we have a project come in the door, I turn it over to him, especially if it's something that's become rudimentary, that could change a slight detail behind it and make him do something slightly different to continue to grow his comfortability in a variety of ways, much like I do myself. I like the challenges. Those are fun. We've got a couple that kind of started out as challenges. Now they become common and they're a staple in our business, like countertops and stuff like that. When you're dealing with that, with the extra length going into somebody's home, where you got to make sure that the corner's 90 degrees, and if it's not 90 degrees, how do you cut your pieces so the corners match up and the grain lines and all that kind of stuff? So that's what we find fun, is the challenge behind it, when everything's the same, when everything's like the guy said it today, like standing 60 sets of coasters at 4 piece. He had like 240 coasters to stand over 2 days. Like, it's just the monotony behind that isn't exciting, versus if he was doing a couple of those and a couple of the next project, it's kind of the variety in life keeps it motivating. It's the monotony, the boring stuff.
So it sounds like you've got a guy that you're able to take under your wing. Mm-hmm. That's interesting, because it sounds like this isn't, it's not like what I do, where I bring someone in and I train them and that's pretty much it. It's a lot of learning, a lot of growth. So, I guess I'm curious, how did you go about finding this individual? Like, was it a lot of trial and error, or what did the process of hiring this person look like?
So I currently have 4 employees, 3 of which are paid, 1 of which is an intern from Fort Bragg through their career transition program. We've aligned with the Special Operations Command, where we can get interns to come work with us for 6 months prior to their separation. They're still paid by the military. They still got military benefits. They still have to check in with their command on a regular cycle, but they report to my shop for apprenticeship and internship, essentially. We just yesterday or 2 days ago on the 1st was his first day. So he's brand new, but nice. He's ran some CNC stuff and stuff like that in his garage. He's familiar with wood, but he wants to learn more of it before he separates and goes about and either creates his own business or goes back to his own home of record, makes this a hobby, live bridges, whatever plan it is that we want to prepare him for that. Preparing him for launch in entrepreneurship, essentially. Going back to the Artisans Outreach and how we make a difference. This is part of that integration into how we make a long-lasting difference, not just a momentary difference. So he's the newest guy that we just had a young lady join our team, Erin. She's been with us for about 3 months, a little bit over. She's in the office now, so she took over a lot of the administrative tasks that were bogging me down, helped me establish some processes. We've had one other admin person in that position before in the past, and they really helped us set up the initial standard operating procedures for the shop, which our current employee was able to use, expand upon, and also grow her responsibilities. So finding individuals that are self-motivating, that have that growth mindset, I think is really important. And when I started looking at potential people to hire, my lead fabricator, Connor, basically the guy that creates the majority of the pieces in my shop, he came to me as a customer first. So he was buying lumber from me. He ran his own business and woodworking. He came to me, I think we met somewhere around 2019, maybe 2018, when I was just getting started in my garage, essentially. He would come buy wood. And then after my wife passed, he came to me and was like, hey man, if you need someone to help you in the shop while you take some time off, let me know. So I reached out to him. I said, hey man, my wife was telling me to hire you before she passed. Like, I think this is a sign. I would love to have you come on board, come on over and have a bourbon with me. We'll sit down and talk through the initial idea. And then during that conversation, I told him, hey, why don't you go ahead and take the weekend, think about it, think about what a fair pay is for you based off of your skills, and let's meet together on Monday. He shows up Monday and we talk, and our minds were aligned. Wages, everything, what I could afford to pay him at the time, it all aligned. And he came on board. He gave me about 4 months of time after my wife passed, where I was able to just focus inward, focus on the kids. I would go in about every 2 to 3 weeks for an hour. Just here, this is what I need you guys to work on. I'll see you in a couple of weeks. So he legitimately saved my business, while at the same time forcing me to go from self-employed to entrepreneur, right? And we'll talk about that distinction here in a little bit. And then my longest employee, he's been with me for about 3 years, maybe slightly over 3 years now. Daniel, he's another veteran. He comes with a work ethic that is unmatched by very few. He shows up every day on time. He leaves every day, sometimes a few minutes late, never early. The only time he calls off is when he's got VA appointments or he's got to take care of his kids, and he always lets me know far in advance. The work ethic of just someone that when you find, you keep him around. He's been with me for 3 years. He was my shop hand at first. He would just put away tools. Now he's kind of taken over a lot of the retail goods, so cutting boards, coasters, stuff like that. He does a lot of the glue up and prep work on those. So I was able to train him on how to be a functional portion of the team. And we've also had some other employees come through there that were part-timers or that have joined us for a short stint. And we either lost a friend. I lost a friend in the process through that, and one of which recently came back into my life. We reconciled, and superconductors, my buddy Cole, we used to talk all the time, like when we're together, the ideas that we come up with and the way that we can integrate them into our lives, just we make each other a better person. And for a little bit, that business, the stress of founding a business and getting it started and the money side of it really kind of warped me a little bit, and I got a little bit short with them, and we kind of separated for a while. And then after Jamie passed, we kind of went back up and reconciled and made everything. He's a really good friend now, someone that I really value. So overall, it's been a great experience. I think the biggest thing that I look for in people when I hire them is work ethic. And that's something that I can usually easily analyze from somebody within their first week of being hired. That's when they're sweeping the shop every day over and over again. Like, how many times am I going to have to do this? Until I tell you to stop. Why are you asking me this? Or when they're done sweeping, do they gainfully go and find something to do on their own, or do they got to come back to me? Do I have to micromanage them? If I find somebody that after they're done sweeping, while they were sweeping, seen some other things that needed to be straightened up, They would come to me and be like, hey, what do you want me to do with these extra pieces of wood that I found on the ground? Not necessarily asking for a task, but asking how to complete a task that they already identified needing done. So I think that that's been really important for me to be able to analyze and hire the right people for the business. And fortunately, we haven't had a high turnover. Most of the people that we bring in end up sticking around. Other than transients. We had one girl that really helped us for a while, Cara. She actually, she would probably still be with us, but she started getting homesick. She moved up here from Florida. She was a really good asset to the company, and I think that she would still be with us if she wouldn't have got homesick. It's things when she was talking to me about it. It was like, no, if you need to go home, go home. I'm not gonna make a recommendation to you. I'm not gonna tell you what I would do because that's irrelevant. I don't know your connection with your family. If you're telling me that's what you need to do, I support it. If you need any help, what do you want to do when you get down there? How do you plan to be successful? I ask her those questions before she leaves to hopefully give her a plan when she gets there, something a little bit more than I'm just going to find a job. Well, now she sells little knitted yarn things to a bunch of local markets in Fayetteville, little mushrooms and little bees, little crocheted bees and stuff. They're kind of cute. My daughter's got a couple of them. So it's neat to see kind of the young entrepreneur come in, to be creative, use what they learned with us, and then kind of how can I do my own thing now? That's kind of what I expect to happen with some people that come in. Yeah. And that was something I kind of understood when I first started going towards wanting to teach veterans is not everybody wants to be a woodworker. But how do we use woodworking maybe as a stepping stone to help them find what gives them that fulfillment, whether it's leatherworking, whether it's pottery, blacksmithing, welding, ceramics, glass blowing, whatever it is, we want to essentially bring that together underneath one roof and package it up and hand it back to Fort Bragg and be like, if you have people that are interested in these things, send them our way. We have a nonprofit. We have people that are willing to teach them. We just want them to come in and learn. So we're in the early stages of that. Right now we have just myself, and then we got a leather worker that comes and does some stuff. We got a wood turner that comes in and teaches veterans. We got a kiln, a potter's wheel, and ceramic molds and stuff like that. So as soon as we get the space, we can kind of launch into ceramics and pottery. And then our buddy Jack, he's on board to come around and teach blacksmithing and knife making and welding and stuff like that to veterans once we get some space for them to work in. Right now, we're kind of limited. 30 year in business as an LLC, and we're kind of not trapped in a lease because it's a really good location. It worked out really good for our business. But at the time when we took the lease, we didn't have the business records to go to a bank and be like, hey, give us $500,000 and let us build a building. And we're like, where's your proof of concept? And now we're going into our second year, finishing up our second year renting out the lease agreement. So if a bank looks at our financial records, they can go, all right, there's some proof of existence here. There's some proof of business, proof of concept. People like his service. He's good at it. He's got a good customer base. A lot of our customers come from word of mouth referrals or just organic finds. We don't do a lot of paid marketing, paid advertising. We picked it up a little bit this Christmas, trying to gear up for the Christmas holiday and trying to grow our retail aspect. But typically we haven't paid to advertise. Everything that we've done has just been, we do a good job at what we do. People like to talk about our wood. Everyone loves our wood.
Yeah. I mean, if you go over to somebody's house and they got an island in their kitchen and it looks like that, somebody's going to be like, yeah, this guy made this. You should see it. I told him what I wanted. He did it exactly like I wanted. It's perfect. So
yeah, I
mean, I can see how word of mouth would kind of do its job in those scenarios. Do you ever end up? I guess returns isn't necessarily the right word for it, but do you end up with pieces that I don't know, maybe they were being made for someone or maybe I don't know, maybe you just had an idea and you made something and then never found a home. Do you end up with stuff like that?
So the only two pieces I've ever made outside of a customer order that haven't sold. One was my dining room table, and one is a coffee table that we have available in our showroom. Unfortunately, fortunately for us, it was a really good opportunity for us to kind of express our creative freedom. If we had some extra wood lying around, we had a customer that wanted to put some floating shelves in their house made out of maple, and they ended up wanting them 3 inches longer. So instead of wasting that wood, we glued all the wood together and we cut it into a circle. And then we took an inlaid bubinga strip, an exotic wood called bubinga, around the outside edge of this table. So it's a perfect circle. And then we chamfered off the top. So it's got like a 45-degree break on the top and the bottom. So it's not just a square corner. And then in between those two chamfered edges, there's a strip of bubinga going around. And I hand turned some bubinga legs, and we cut a hole through the top of the table and brought those legs all the way through the top. Tented them in, and then we put wedges like you would see in the top of an axe in there to hold the legs in place and finish off. From the top, it looks like a button, right? So we call it the button table. So that one hasn't sold. We have it available. We have it listed at a retail of $1,500, which I think is more than fair. It's beautiful figured maple. I mean, it's stunning. But when I say figured, it kind of looks like it's got waves in the grain. So it doesn't just look flat. When the light hits it and you kind of watch your head shift, it almost looks like it has this transient light effect where it almost looks like it's moving. And then the exotic overlays. So it's a beautiful table. It is stunning. I think it'll fit in the right home. I just think the right person hasn't seen it, and I'm willing to let it sit there and look pretty until the right person comes across it, because it's a gorgeous table. And pieces like that, you go into it with the understanding that not everybody wants that piece. A lot of people think it's going to be pretty, but it doesn't match their home decor, their decoration style. It doesn't match anything in their home. They're not going to bring that into their home, as beautiful as it is, and as beautiful as they think it is. So I see it going into like a cafe or a coffee house or a lobby for a waiting room, like a dental office or a doctor's office, or into somebody's home that just matches that design. And then the other piece that I made that never sold, I initially tried to sell it. It was a piece of burled maple that came out of northeast Cleveland. It was cut down and kiln dried up there, and then we brought it down here. I filled it in, and then the table base for it was welded up by a really good friend of mine, Chris. He was actually shot in his yard and killed by his neighbor, who he'd been trying to get restraining orders against for a long period of time. Rayford Police Department, I think it was Hope County Sheriff's Department, dropped the ball on it. Like, it was an ordeal for a while. I think there was some kind of litigations going on around how they failed to mitigate the situation effectively. But he welded up this table base, and now it sits in my dining room table, man. It's I'm glad it never sold. I got a piece of a really good friend in my house forever now.
Yeah.
No matter where I go, that table's going to go with me. It's something personal. So I think the pieces that haven't sold for a reason, but typically all of our pieces are sold before we even start producing them.
Yeah.
Our customers come to us with a design, a vision. We meet with them, we consult with them over the period of a couple conversations. Once we got the design finalized, we receive a material deposit. Basically, they pay for the wood. And then we go from there. We get the building. You let us do what we do best, creating a piece of furniture that you'll never have to replace. You may want to replace it one day. Your great-great-grandchildren might want to replace it, but you won't.
Yeah.
And that's really what we strive to do, is create things that outlive you. It's more about, for a dining room table, it's not necessarily the table that you're buying. It's the collaborative memories that are created around that table. It's the connection, the hard conversations. That's where life happens. The family unit was built around that dining room table. And I think that's one of the most powerful things that I like to envision is one day someone's going to be sitting at this table and having a hard conversation. Someone's going to get engaged there, maybe, or really good Thanksgiving dinner, really bad one, you know what I mean? But it's the memories that you get out of that table and watching the family grow around that piece.
That's fascinating. It's almost like because like my brother is a plumber, so he goes into people's homes, but it's almost like you get to go into people's homes and leave something there.
Yeah.
So you're like, your business is a mark in so many different households and businesses because they're getting you to custom design their furniture. So that's kind of cool to
Their
think about.
vision, our craftsmanship. That's nice. We can see like some of the pieces that I've designed have never sold. So maybe my design vision isn't what people are liking nowadays. So it's all good. I wanted to circle back. Earlier, we kind of talked about the distinction between self-employment and entrepreneurship, and that the difference being trusting other people to take over core portions of your business. Before that, I had a shop hand, I had an assistant, but that assistant could not have kept the business afloat if I needed to take time off. So when Jamie passed and I was forced into entrepreneurship, I was forced into hiring another skill hand. It was around the time I was listening to a book, and in the book it was talking about how conceited are you to believe that you're the only person that can do what you can do. And then I took that along with some leadership reading that I did and expanded on that. And if I can't train somebody else to do what I can do, then I'm not a good leader. And if I'm not a good leader, then I don't deserve to be running a business. I think that's one of the key distinctions between self-employment is you're captivated by that business. Your business doesn't run without you. Take you out of the equation, does it succeed? And even to this day, there's certain aspects of my business that I have to control, but they're substantially less, and I'm training my staff to take over those roles. So when I need to take time for my kid, I can take time for my kid, and my business gets to go. And it was on that trajectory a couple times throughout the last year and a half, where it was really kind of week to week for payroll and making sure that I can pay my people, and entrepreneurship and the forced learning curve behind that. You either succeed or you don't. There's no faking it. There's no, like working a job and you just showing up and filling a shoe. You can't do that running a business. You have to force yourself to grow, learn, and you have to force others to do it too, challenging them in their own ways, whatever their strengths are, pulling that out, and then finding their weaknesses. If they're trainable weaknesses, then train them. If they're not, find somebody else to fill that role. Don't get bogged down on trying to force square pegs in the round holes. It doesn't work. And that's one of the things that as a leader has been my biggest challenge, is really tuning into the people that are around me and listening to what they're saying, like truly listening, like, okay, well, if this isn't your strength, and being able to dissect that lineage and finding out what their strengths and weaknesses are, and then trying to figure out how to fit them into your vision, your vision for your business, your vision for your future as a business owner. Like, obviously my vision isn't to be a slave to my business 40 hours a week for the rest of my life. I eventually want to get to a point where I can slow down a little bit. I can live life with my kids, and just be present with them more, while at the same time lifting others up and giving them opportunities to get developed in their positions. So hopefully one day they can afford to take a month off work if they want to, getting them to invest in themselves through investing, like 30-year business. And we started doing a 3% IRA match for our employees because I genuinely care about them. I want them to be successful, because if they're successful, I'm successful. And as a leader, learning that to trust other people with facets of my business that I thought were sensitive has been the hardest part, like going over financial information and tax information and giving people access to call the IRS on my behalf. That's fucking scary.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. That's scary.
Yeah.
So it's just stepping outside of my comfort zone as an individual, is what makes me a good leader, and then also making sure that they know, like Connor and Aaron and Daniel, if it wasn't for them, my business wouldn't be where it's at today. I probably wouldn't have a business. Yeah. I lost my wife. I would have been like, screw it, I'm done. I'm out. I'm just going to cut my losses, but the worst part is I was like month 3 on a 2-year lease. So it's like, damn. Worst timing. And then COVID hit right at the same time. So COVID restrictions started tampering down at the end of March. I lost Jamie at the end of March. So it was like, It's like, how do you make it through this?
So you're pretty much on the downhill then. There really isn't anything that I feel like everything that you had to handle, showed up all at once, and now you're through it.
I hope you're right.
So
I hope you're right, because I can't. There's even now. I mean, I'd be lying if I said that I don't think about giving it up. At some points when it gets really hard, like I was saying, the last couple months of barely being able to make payroll. That's hard as a business owner, not realizing that you got at least a month or two of savings stacked up to where if things got really bad, you can give your employees time to find an exit strategy. Like, I never want to put them in a position where they show up on Monday and go, no work for you guys, sorry. So luckily we're not in that position right now. Like, we have a lot of jobs on board. We have a good steady customer base, but sometimes the outflow, the completion gets backed up.
Yeah.
We're waiting on parts, we're waiting on wood, we're waiting on one thing or another. In the back, the completion of things get backed up. So we got a bunch of projects going, but we can't complete very much, or sicknesses, at the end of summer, sicknesses kind of crushed our business. Got one guy diagnosed with COVID. I was sick. My daughter was sick. Daniel was sick. And then we got people out on vacation, because I'm not going to tell them no, they can't go spend time with their kids and go visit colleges or go spend time with their family. Like, what kind of person does that?
Yeah.
So my goal for the future is being able to offer them paid time off, and giving them an opportunity, and maybe not a lot of it, but at least some of it. Like, hey, if you want to take a Friday off to go spend some extra time with your family, like, do it. And don't worry about it affecting your pay. If it's over a couple times, I don't know if I'm at that size of an operation to be able to do like what you would think in like larger corporations where they get 14 days PTO with accrual and everything. But one day I'd like to be able to give that to them.
Yeah, definitely. So it sounds like, you've got that forward momentum, and you did talk about the lease with the building. So once you transition from that, are you going to be building a shop, or are you going to purchase an existing building, or like, what does that kind of look like?
I just extended my lease, my 2-year lease. I had to let them know by the end of November. I extended for another 6 months. During that course of time, I'm actively seeking properties. I'm working with a really good friend of mine, Alex, down in the Fayetteville area. He does a lot of like residential investing, but he also has a lot of friends in the commercial investing industry. So we're looking at non-traditional lending options outside of the bank right now to potentially put together $400,000 to $500,000 to buy a piece of land and build something, or buy something with an existing building and do some upgrades. We need more space than what we got. We're in 3,600 square feet. We got 800 office and bathrooms and about 2,800 in warehouse space. And my dad, he wants to move down from Cleveland, Ohio, and semi-retire. He'll come in, he'll work on projects with me. But he's got my entire grandfather's shop. So we have to find somewhere to put all that equipment, which is another 2,400 square feet. So now we go from 36 to 6,000. And we need room for the leather worker and the artisans that we want to bring into the program. We need room for them. We need room to grow. So we want to find somewhere between 8,000 and 10,000 square feet with good parking, or find land that could accommodate that with urban development laws and understanding that, they're going to want us to do certain improvements and all that kind of stuff. So what is the reality of what we can do with that money? That's where I see us going for Ballash Woodworks in the short term. I see it kind of, I don't want to lease forever. Essentially, leasing is like throwing away $50,000 in the last 2 years. Just like, it's $50,000 gone. $50,000, $25,000 over 15 years, that goes a far way, as far as being able to buy a piece of land. So it's something that we want to do. It's something that I want to do, but I have to get my footing back under me. And I think I'm still kind of caught on my heels a little bit. I'm still trying to find out what my life looks like without Jamie in it. Because, she brought out a lot of really good things in me. So it's really hard to try to figure out what I'm doing without her, because a lot of what I had foreseen in my future was with her. So I'm really struggling to identify those realistic goals on what I want to do with my life. And I think once I have a concrete idea of that, then I'd be able to transition that into what I see the business fully growing into. I talk about wanting to franchise potentially and put up one of these artisans mills outside of every military installation. So if we get young private just joining the Army at Fort Bragg Airborne School right out of Fort Benning, and we get him at year one to start finding passion in woodworking, no matter which installation that he gets stationed at, he has access to continuing to grow. So after 20 years, the military doesn't have to invest in sending him to school. He's already got his trade. Now we can potentially look at how do we get them small business loans? How do we get the VA to look at potentially giving him the resources they need through the Voc Rehab program or whatever to stand up a business, because they got 20 years of built-on foundation knowledge in woodworking that they've acquired by coming in on the weekends and spending the same amount that they would spend going to the bar, getting drunk with their friends. Like, let's give them a purpose. Let's stop teaching them that the toxicity that we know to be normal in the military is normal, and that's what we should strive to achieve. I mean, I wish I would have gotten into something more than just partying when I was in the military, because I didn't invest. I didn't invest in myself. I didn't take education classes. All the education I took was in medicine. And what am I doing in medical right now? I turned down being a PA. Like I walked away from PA school because I lost my passion for medicine outside of the tactical environment.
Yeah.
I didn't want to do that anymore.
It's like you're not getting shot at, so it's not very fun.
I think that's what it comes down to. Yeah.
I need a little adrenaline with this job.
I think it's more the people that you deal with too.
Yeah.
Like the people that I dealt with in the military and the contractors realm, the private security realm, they were people that ideologically aligned with the growth mindset. They didn't hold themselves captives to believing that they had a certain set of skills. A lot of the friends that I had in the military, they were self-motivated, and you pick that up on their personality, and that at the core of it, they were persistent. They had a toughness that you don't find in very many of the civilians nowadays, especially going back to college. After I got out, I was like, holy crap, these are the people I got to deal with. Like I couldn't even make jokes like I made in the military. We know military jokes, but you got looked at like you were some outcasts, some weirdos. So I found that once taken away the people that I worked with, medicine was negligible for me to want to continue. I think I just like taking care of the people around me the only way that I knew how, and the best way that I knew how with my mind was to be a medic, and at least then I can control, or at least thought I can control who left and who didn't, or at least have a hand in it. And then I got hurt contracting, and I kind of lost that ability to maintain operationality at a level that I thought would be needed out of me. And my wife asked me, "You done now? Come home." So that's kind of like at the end of the day, that's kind of stimulated me coming home and taking Ballash Woodworks in a more professional mindset and wanting to transition that into a future that she could step away from her business and working this typical 9 to 5 and transition to being a mom if she wanted to, or help me with the business, or help her own business, grow her own business, whatever it is that she wanted to do. That's what Ballash Woodworks' end state was. It's all focused around her future. So I'm still trying to figure out how I can piece it all together without her. Every day is getting easier, but it's still hard some days.
Yeah, that's interesting. I guess it's not something that a lot of people take into consideration. Just how your vision and your significant other's vision lines up when someone's starting a business, and then I can only imagine how now you kind of have to find it again. So with everything that you everything that you've gone through, and how you brought yourself to this point. I mean, where do you see it going, and what are some steps you're taking to help, kind of contribute to that? How do you, I guess my question is, what really gets you out of bed in the morning, and how do you stay, eyes on the prize with everything that you've been through?
One foot in front of the other. Some days that's the God honest truth, is just knowing that I have tasks that need to be accomplished. I'm not a person that likes to quit things. And then at the end of it, when you complete it, that sense of gratification comes back, and you kind of get that glimpse of, this is why I remember why I got passion and joy out of this. My kid, wanting to be a good example for her, teaching her that when things get tough, that doesn't mean that you can let those things affect your performance. I grieve, I cry a lot. I mean, I think that that's something that I've become more comfortable with, as I've been through this healing journey, is identifying and tapping into what am I feeling, and teaching her that it's okay to feel those things and still move forward is I think hopefully going to become the core of who she is at one day. I mean, I don't know when it'll click, if it's already clicked, whatever, but I want it to click in her that, at the end of the day, my dad was hurting, but he kept going. The same thing we do in the military, right? Chronic pain, all of us, knee issues, hip issues, back issues, shoulder issues, all these issues. But what do? We still keep moving because that's what we have to do. And I think that chronic pain mindset that I've had to deal with all my life it's no different. It's not any different to me as far as like the pain emotionally. It just, I wasn't used to dealing with emotional pain when it first hit, not this level, so now that I've gotten used to carrying it, it's kind of like dealing with chronic pain. It's there every day, but we still got a job to do, sweetheart. Let's do it. So I think that she remains probably one of the largest reasons on why I still do it. I've asked her a couple times, do you want me to quit? Do you want me to be a dad to you and just focus on you? Because we've had our moments where she felt like she wasn't a priority in my life after I'm trying to run a business and I'm trying to maintain social life and take care of myself. And she kind of felt like, where's time for me, Dad? And looking back on it as a father, I'm like, damn, I really fell short, but we've been doing better. And I just want her to learn that at the end of the day, it's all about, being tough, being able to persevere through hard times and come out on top, see success and watch it come to fruition, making planning. Where do we want to be in 5 years? I want to be at the point where I can step away for a summer with my daughter and take 3 months traveling. I just get ready to hopefully get a new truck. I ordered it back in May, still on production line because this trip. We'll get it. I'll go down this tangent for a minute. Remind me where I'm at in a minute because I'm going to probably forget it. This tangent is like, as a business leader, I have to know where my projects are and standing at all times. I got 5 employees now with the intern. Yeah, I can tell a customer when they pick up the phone, hey, no matter where it's at in the project, even if it hasn't started, I can tell them. I order a truck back May 31st. I contact Ram Cares, right? And I go, hey, I'm just trying to get a status update. And they're like, all right, well, your truck is in D status. We have the parts, but it hasn't hit production. Like, okay. You think you could tell me when it might start? Give me an idea? Like, we can't forecast that. Okay, well, how many trucks are going through your plant on a weekly basis? Let's start with a key question like that. I'm sorry, we don't have that information. So I'm like, wait a second, you guys are a multi-billion-dollar corporation. You guys got an HR staff that dwarfs. Like, you're probably one of your 2 of your HR roles probably top what we gross this year. So you mean to tell me that you can't even tell me how many trucks are being completed in your facility every week? Like, what's going on here? So then I ask another question: is your facility that this truck is being produced at actually operational? Sorry, we don't have that information.
Oh, man.
So this is the customer care that I get from Ram. And then out of nowhere, I get a call from the dealership that's handling my truck order. And they go, So we got an update. It's moved to D1 status. So it's actually been assigned a production date, and it's planned to ship on the 30th of this month. Where's my truck? Where's my truck? It's December 3rd. So it's funny. And I've been reaching out to Ram Cares through their messaging system, like they recommend that you do, and trying to get an update 2 days in a row. Same message. This is my name. This is my email. This is my phone number. This is the VIN number, the order number. This is the type of truck that I was ordering. No response. Goes. It's bad, man.
I don't know if I could spend that amount of money and be okay with that.
So I haven't spent really any money. I just ordered the truck.
Oh, okay.
I put a deposit down on the order, but it's marked as a sold truck.
Yeah.
So you think they would want to get it to the dealership and prioritize it to get the revenue, even in hard times. Like, why would you prioritize trucks? Because I see trucks coming to the lot every now and then, heavy duty trucks. So they're getting a couple a week or whatever it is. Why wouldn't you prioritize the truck that you already know is sold?
Yeah.
And
like, this is guaranteed.
Yeah, like
revenue.
this is guaranteed money. Like, let's just get it to the dealership. All we got to do is deliver this guy's truck and he's going to be happy. Like, here it is. I was hoping to have my new truck before we go and take my daughter to the mountains for her birthday this winter. She turns 10. It's a big, important holiday. It was kind of something she wanted last year, but I wasn't in the right mental headspace to make it happen. And we got ahead of it. Well, I think last year, by the time we had thought about doing it, it was already booked. So we booked out in like January this year. I booked her for a cabin. We got like 16 people meeting us up there. Family. We're just going to have a good time. No cell phone signal, no internet, no nothing. Just disconnect for a week. We go up there for, I think it's like 6 nights. But anyway, tangent. Where were we before we went down the Ram Cares tangent?
So you were talking about spending time with her and traveling and
5-year goals.
Yeah.
5-year goals is to be able to create my business operations and develop my staff in order to be able to step away from the business in a long-term stance. I think I have found the right person to lead my office. She is very self-motivated and has continued to grow her own education within my QuickBooks software, integrating the accountant, understanding tax implications, all this stuff on top of just managing normal customer relations and project flow. So I think that she's someone that over time, with proper leadership training, proper management training, she can develop into an office manager, which would put her... Sorry, my daughter. She's probably like, where are you? So that would translate into her potentially getting a couple of employees under her as we continue to grow over the next 5 years to create passive revenue that I would need to be able to step aside from the business. As well as developing the individuals within the workshop that would allow them to handle the production of the sales, as well as estimations. The only thing that I haven't been able to train someone up on doing yet is estimations. It's something that I believe my lead fabricator is capable of handling, but with the production volume and trying to get caught up on some stuff from the summer and the sicknesses that kind of set us behind financially, we're just starting to get at that point where I think I can start getting that last piece of the puzzle kind of plugged for me to be completely replaceable within my business. Around that time that we find that kind of self-sufficiency, autonomy, we can take that business model and either franchise it or stand up alternate locations outside the other military installations around Fort Carson, like lead towards the major ones. I'm thinking Lewis, Carson, Hood, maybe Drum. Those seem to be like the places that people go and just get stuck there for a while. So I would want to focus on those primary military installations first, find other woodworkers in that area that possess the skills to lead the programs in that area, which could be where the potential franchising option comes in. Let them take over the operations, come in, train them on how we run ours, and then step aside and just kind of watch the program grow, all centered around that Artisans Outreach nonprofit. So it's kind of like this 3-pronged tier. So the Artisans Mill is this grand overarching design. It's the property management company essentially that manages all the artisans that we hire. Ballash Woodworks becomes part of it. We become one of the founding members. We're basically the financial staple. We provide long-term stability for the organization essentially because we're going to grow. And then we get the other staples like the leather worker and stuff like that come in. And then we just continue to grow from there. And then in 10 years, I want to be able to I want to be able to fully retire, from the business and focus more on like my pieces, the pieces that I got in my head that I've been dreaming about doing for my entire life, the pieces that like you only have one of them and they sell for $2 million. Like that's the stuff that I want to create with my dad before it gets too late. I want him to be able to teach me all the stuff that I never learned from him. All the stuff that my grandfather taught him that I haven't got to learn from him yet because he's in Cleveland and I'm in Fayetteville. So I get to learn a lot from him. I call him with questions all the time and he'll walk me through how he would do it. And I mess it up a couple times and then I get it right. But that's part of the fun in what I do is messing things up.
That's interesting. I guess I never thought about like messing stuff up as it relates to woodwork. So
it's important.
Is that something that the recovery aspect of that? So you mess it up, you go back, you redo it. Like, is that an actual possibility when it comes to woodwork?
Essentially, you just usually got to recreate the component or something.
Okay.
So if I mess up a component, we replace the component. It's not a big deal. But I think what it really teaches me is to be okay with failure. Understanding that failure is actually a good thing because I'm pushing myself so far outside of my comfort zone that I'm doing something so unfamiliar that I can mess it up. When it becomes familiar, it becomes normal. You become stagnant as a person. Take that over and bridge it into every philosophy of life. Press into your failures. Really try to analyze what caused you to fail and learn from that opportunity. Every failure is a learning opportunity. And if you really kind of see it from that aspect, and that's something that woodworking has helped me see in life, failure's invaluable. It has no price.
So how do you communicate that concept to your team? And what are some things you do to encourage them to basically use the same opportunities to learn?
I think the biggest thing is not getting upset when they mess something up. My reaction to their failure, their error, whatever it is. It's not going, oh, fuck, man. Are you serious? No, it's, even my lead fabricator, if he cuts, because I do it, when he messes something up, he feels like he can come to me and be like, hey, I accidentally cut this too short. That was like $100. All right, go get it done. But then at the end during his review, I get to talk about that. Like, hey, I'm giving you a raise. Your raise could have been more this cycle, but here's the reality of the errors that you made. It cost me this money. It cost me that, whatever it was. But then it also teaches him that it's okay to fail because boss isn't going to get mad at me. He's going to use it as an opportunity to teach me how I could have done better. Or even 9 times out of 10, because he's kind of smart like I am, he can figure out how he messed it up and fix it before he even comes to me and tells me that he messed it up and be like, hey, I messed this up. Here's how I think I can make it better. Run with it. And if he fails again, asking the question too, how would you do this? How do you think this should be done? It gets them to think like a leader, how can I do this? And then it gets them to really press into that understanding, digging into their own woodworking knowledge database to understand how to apply the fundamentals or the skills that they've learned to achieve a different task. And I think by asking that question, not getting upset with them when they do fail, I think those are the 2 biggest things that I do as a leader to foster that leadership within them. Their own confidence, I think, was the big thing that, young woodworkers need to learn is to get confident in their skill. And if you're not confident, mess it up a couple times. You'll get confident pretty quick. As long as you walk away with all your fingers, you're good. At the end of the day, the worst thing that can happen is you lose a finger. The second worst thing that can happen is you get impaled by a kickback off your table saw and you got a piece of wood sticking out of your head. But other than that, everything else can be fixed. You can always buy another piece of wood. You can always start over. And I think that's one of the biggest things that I try to pass off is ain't that big of a deal at the end of the day. You're okay, right? I'm okay. We're all okay. Let's get back to work. So just take that pregnant pause. And for a while there, it was a challenge, My longest employee, Daniel, has been with me for a while. And there was times when I would get upset because he messed something up and I would react really negatively. And if anything, that instills in them a fear behind messing up versus understanding that failure is that opportunity for growth and learning. You know, I can teach my employees to do it, but for some reason my daughter's stuck in a fixed mindset, and I think it's partially because of her age, and I've been doing a lot of reading on trying to get understanding of where a young girl's mind is in that development, how I can teach her to overcome that fixed mindset and understanding that failure is okay. You know, if you mess up a drawing, it's not the end of the work. Grab another piece of paper, start over. It's cool.
Yeah.
You know, versus like she gets a little disappointed in herself. And I used to be the same way too. Like when you mess something up, you almost walk away from it. Like, screw it, I'm done. When you lose a screw, trying to put something back together, like, oh, screw it. You know, you got a computer that's half disassembled over on the side of your room for 7 months, and then it ends up getting scrapped.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm kind of the same way, in a sense that if I'm working on something and it gets extremely difficult, so I haven't necessarily screwed it up yet, but I will definitely not touch it for a long time and then come back to it, especially if it's like a personal project. And then I come back to it and I'm like, this would have been so much easier if I had just pushed through it.
Yeah.
Because now I can't remember where I am or what I was doing or something like that. But
as you see those encounters come into your life, do you see yourself approaching the resolution faster as you encounter them more often, or do you find yourself like kind of remaining stagnant in that time lapse?
That's an interesting question. So, it varies. I think it depends on the task. Like one thing is I've been working on my car here recently. So I have a project car, and I did the same thing with that. I went to go change a part on it, and it was really hard, and I just kind of said, well, I'll get to it later. And then another one is a drone. I have to solder new motors onto it. Another one is for the business down here. I'm creating a suite of apps, which at this stage we're working on hiring someone else to do that.
Yeah.
Because I've put, I think, probably about 8 months worth of development into them. And now we're just like, in the interest of time, it'll just be easier to get somebody else to finish them up.
Yeah.
So those are kind of like three completely different things. So, if you compare them to each other, if I run into a problem with the car, I might set it to the side, and then if I run into a problem with the drone, I might set it to the side, or the apps. But as I encounter more and more problems with the same thing, so with the car, and it's really good at giving me problems. So,
what kind of car is it?
It's a 2001 Cobra. I got it on accident, so I got back from Iraq, and I wanted a Mustang, but I like the Generation 4 body style. Mm-hmm. And the 5s were out. I didn't realize the 6 was coming out about a year later. So I found this one. I even took my driver in Iraq. He is Puerto Rican. And at the time, he was like 40 or something like that. Like, I was a 23-year-old team leader. And both of my soldiers were older than me. The driver, significantly, almost double my age. And I was like, you're going with me, because no matter what happens, like, I went to 3 dealerships and test drove probably 15 or 20 different cars. And we saw this car, and 3 hours later I owned it, and we went to eat Chinese, and I said, you were supposed to make sure I didn't spend any money. And so come to find out later, at the time, I only knew there were Mustangs. I didn't know a lot about cars or the different models or anything. So, but come to find out later that, a Cobra is an SVT, and Shelby also makes Cobras, and this was an actual Cobra. So I have a 20-year-old SVT Cobra that is one of 3,867 made. More than likely, not that many of them left of my specific car, that like that color hard top and everything. So I'm like, I really want to take care of this. And in 2012, I got back from Germany, having it on a boat to get it over there and back, because it was I went from 97 Taurus to that and had both for a while, and then the Taurus took a crack and somebody else had it. So that was my only car for most of my military career. And so when I got to Fort Hood, I was having engine problems, and so I was like, I'm going to put a turbo in it. So now it has a 70 millimeter forward facing turbo in it. And she goes.
She goes.
And,
and she gives you issues.
yeah. And so the past 3 days I've done work on it. And I think in comparison to the issue. So basically back when COVID hit, I was going to do some work on it. Like I need to change these things and whatever. I ordered parts. That's when Advance Auto had just kicked off their home delivery option.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't realize it was a thing. So I guess it was brand new. And I got to test it. So that's when everybody was starting home delivery. Like, and I ordered parts and they showed up on my doorstep like 2 hours later. And I was like, this is awesome.
This is trouble.
I don't have to go anywhere and it shows up same day. I didn't have to pay for delivery. Like you just paid for the part and they brought it right to you. And so then I went out working on it and I couldn't get it replaced. And it sat there up until probably 2 months ago. And I was like, the fiance said, hey, you got a note in the mailbox. And there was some guy wanting to buy it. And I called him up because if somebody offers me, 40 grand for it, I'd probably sell it. But nobody in their right mind would do that. But
yeah.
it is a very rare car. And so I called the guy. I was like, let's see what happens. And, we held a conversation. I could tell that he was kind of more just less looking for that body style Mustang. The fact that it was a Cobra, he wasn't super interested. And I said, well, she wants me to sell it, and I don't want to. So I should probably make it do what it's supposed to do, and that's drive. Plus, it only has 90,000 miles on it. So over the past month, I've been ordering parts and working on it. And I think to answer your original question, that when I get a new problem and it does become difficult, like right now I'm dealing with some starting issues, the diagnosis and the parts and getting it swapped out is a little bit easier now that it's almost like I need some sort of motivation behind me.
Yeah.
And just myself being like, well, I own the car. Like when I get to it, I'll get to it. And she's like, you should probably sell it. And I'm like, I'm probably going to fix it and not sell it.
Then I'll just drive it everywhere.
Yeah, and then I'll just drive it all the time. The poor thing only has 90,000 miles on it. Like it's a 20-year-old car. And that's sad.
That's pretty amazing.
That's really good, but it's not good because it's supposed to be driven. Like I have a motorcycle in the same situation. That's a whole nother story. Super low miles because I never drove it. I never rode it. I put it down. I wrecked it. And there's some very minor stuff that needs fixed, and I just haven't gotten around to it. So when I get the car up and to the point where I want it to be at, then I'll do the same thing with the motorcycle. But yeah, dealing with problems and it becomes difficult. I think I just kind of need that kick in the ass to say, look, we're going to do this and there's no other option. Burn the boats.
Yeah. That's and I think that's important. Like as a man, as you get older, you start to realize like what you need. Like you need a kick in the ass to get kind of motivated on some shit, and like almost like you're gonna prove wrong. Like no, I'm fixing this because I want to drive this thing. And who knows if you'll sell it or when you sell it. If the guys can come back and offer you Bruco Dinero, and you'll be like, yeah, I just need some bank.
I was kind of planning on being buried in it.
You might have to talk to your wife.
I mean, think about it. Like you've talked to so many different people that are like, I sold it or I wrecked it. And I haven't done that yet.
Just keep it forever.
So I'm like, I know what I have now, and not just that, but we're at the point where once I get it up to par, I kind of have something to talk about.
And it's a fun tour too.
Oh, it's so fast. It's so fast, man. But I'm curious about because so going back to like leadership and how you handle your business and your team. because you spent time in the Army. So the things that you encountered in the Army, like with training and leadership, good, bad, or indifferent, what are some of those traits or leadership skills that kind of transition over into your entrepreneurial journey?
All right, without answering this like a board question here, because I don't remember all the military terminology on what
Sure.
they would be looking for. I think that one of the biggest things that I learned being a military leader was not being a leader that led from a desk. When we had stuff to do, when I was a young NCO, I was out there with them. I was doing it with them. We all got it done, and all right, go home. You know, it was the bad side of military leadership was like they seen every opportunity as a babysitting thing. Like, I think one of the things that I learned from the military was not to micromanage things. You know, a lot of the top-down leadership in the military, it's micromanaging. And they kind of got to, because the people at the lowest level are some of the most immature and young people. Part of the, like, there is some rare exceptions in there, like you were talking about the 40-year-old guy that was in your truck. He was probably one of the more mature people in your truck that you can trust handling some basic tasks without having to babysit them.
Yeah.
Right. So I understand the necessity for some of the military leadership, but it's one of the things that I learned was what not to do as a leader. You know, don't have them sit around twiddling their thumbs. Give them something to do. People are bored, they complain. Complaining is toxic. Toxicity breeds. Like, don't give them an opportunity to just sit around yapping with each other, like sitting in the locker room waiting to be dismissed because something might come up. Like, how many times have we sat there and done that? So now the positive things that I learned from the military is the decision-making process, analyzing your courses of action, coming up with plans, gaming them, you know, like, what would this plan look like? Like, how can I possibly see this coming to fruition? And then making an informed decision on which way to go, you know, whether that's for your business, your personal life, your friendships, whatever it is, like that decision-making process is something that's become integral in who I am. And then realizing that we're capable of much more than even what we believe. Some of the courses that we've all been to, they push you beyond where your physical comfort zone is into a mental discomfort. And then that mental discomfort becomes almost like insurmountable, but you still overcome. You know, so you start to see that these mountains that you've been going up, as you reach more mountains, you realize that all these little hills down here that you're going through thinking they were mountains, and you go like, that's the big problem over there. You're looking at like Mount Kilimanjaro or something, and you're like, that's, now you can plan for that. And you see all these little hills as training opportunities to continue to grow and develop yourself and just kind of continue to overcome. But yeah.
So at what point are you gonna write a book?
Not in the plans.
No.
I mean, if I found someone that could take my thoughts and translate them into a book, I'm not organized enough to put together a book. There's a reason why I need someone in my office. I know my deficiency. Organization is not my strong suit. I need someone that has the logistical mindset that puts together the pieces to help me focus on what I'm good at, creating and doing things, and the vision that I have. I met with an advisor. I'm getting ready to hire him on as like a overall personal business consultant, mainly financially, but they're going to come in and help out with some of the taxes and stuff like that in the office. And he was saying something about, like, for such a young business and a young entrepreneur, the people around me see my vision and they believe in the vision that I have for what we will become. And I think that kind of has been invigorating to hear somebody from the outside that I didn't really have a relationship see that the people around me and that work for me believe in this and care about this as much as I do. And that's been something that kind of has brought me back from like the brink of like extinction this year. You know, I was reeling on, oh my gosh, you know, like different taxes there are to pay. Like, you hire someone, there's like 7 different taxes you got to pay, and some of which I didn't even know about. So a couple of weeks ago, I'm getting notifications like, hey, you owe these taxes. But yeah. here we are.
That is pretty nice to hear, like an outside person kind of give you that perspective. It's like, I'm doing something right.
Yeah, it's the positive feedback, I think, that comes along with doing stuff. When someone from the outside sees that you're having a positive impact on the people around you, I think that's, I don't know. I kind of finished this week on a really high note after hearing that, and then kind of making some progress. We're getting yelled at, aren't we?
Yeah.
But
That's cool. So I want to ask you the 4 questions we've had brewing. The first one, which you kind of already touched on a little bit, but when you're not, growing your team and working in your shop, what do you like to do for fun?
Lately, bourbon nights, man. I enjoy having people around that I can connect with. I can get to know. I get to drink different bourbons. I try a variety of things. Continue to do self-improvement. I enjoy working out. I enjoy training. I don't like calling it working out because I train for a purpose. Like when I go in the gym, I have a purpose. And just finding time with my daughter, finding time with my friends. That seems to be what's been pulling me through the time since I lost Jamie. Before that, we were homebodies. I was perfectly content sitting in my house all weekend long with nobody other than her. And now that it's quiet, I find that being around my friends helps kind of fill that gap.
Yeah.
I like hiking. I like going up to the mountains. We went up to, I think it's Merrill Mountain Park, go hiking, and my heart was pounding out of my chest, like walking up these mountains. Like, oh my gosh, I'm out of shape. This sucks. I'm not even carrying any weight, and I'm out of breath. So things like that. I enjoy being out in areas where I get to disconnect. I feel like I'm always connected. Being a business owner, trying to manage sales, dealing with customers, watching emails, watching Facebook traffic, trying to make sure you get that customer engaged right when they were on their keyboard, because 4 hours goes by and somebody doesn't respond to that comment that potentially leads to a sale, they're already over it. They're going $25 tic-tac-toe board. I ain't gonna sell that, So it's capturing that stuff. So when I feel like I can disconnect, those are the really good points. And sometimes I have a hard time doing it. My friend's got to slap the phone out, man. Stop it! You're with us. Like, damn it.
So the second question, which you had mentioned a book before, but what book are you reading?
I'm currently reading The Available Parent. I'm trying to really, the last probably 4 books that I've read have all been about young teenager development, trying to be a better parent. I noticed a lot of deficiencies within my parenting style that my wife filled: the nurturing, the caring, the mentoring role. I was more of like the authoritarian, standard setter type parent before Jamie passed, and since she passed, I had to take over that role. My wife needs me to do that for my daughter, So I've been reading a lot of books about how to interact and be available for a kid and how to communicate with them effectively lately. Before that, it was leadership books, trying to come to a better understanding of who I needed to be for my team.
Yeah, that's really cool. So one I mentioned on a recent episode with Clint, he does 8 Up Industries, which is like the motorbike version of what you do with the Veteran Outreach. Okay. So puts vets. He's in Colorado. Puts vets on 2 wheels. The book is called Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. I really like that book. I found it like 6, maybe 7 years ago, and read it, and I have it on Audible, so I listen to it more than once sometimes. And currently, I am reading again Fortitude by Dan Crenshaw.
Good book.
Yeah, good book. That book, man.
I think that was one of the books that I read that really kind of helped me quantify that failure mindset, like put it and articulate the thoughts behind pushing into failure, and the fortitude that it creates. A lot of that book is centered around, dealing with failure. At least that's what I took from that book. So really good book for personal development and leadership development.
Yeah, I I love it. That's why I'm reading it again. So, I may or may not know the answer to this one, but I get different answers from everyone, so I'm going to keep asking it. But if you could have a beer with anyone, dead or alive, who would it be and why?
Without a doubt, my wife. She didn't even drink. I mean, she tried to a couple times. She would have a couple drinks when she was really hurting, but she didn't even drink. I would get the tallest pint. I would get the tallest glass, and then I would drink mine, and then I would drink hers. Just to get that extra few minutes with her. There's nothing I wouldn't do for just a few more minutes of her time, because I felt like I squandered so much of it chasing deployments and chasing jobs and going and thinking that my purpose was everywhere but being next to her.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. So last question, I think most important, is whether someone wants to come to you for a custom kitchen table, cabinets, island, whatever, and get your craftsmanship in their home, or someone's interested in starting their own woodworking business, where can people find you?
Best place to go find any information about us is ballashwoodworks.com, BALLASHWOODWORKS.com. From there, you can find a little bit about my journey, who I am as a person, as a woodworker. You can find out about the Artisans Outreach. You can take a look at some of our projects. Our social media feed is there to keep up to date on things that we do day to day. And my store's there. You can buy from us. You can get registered for the Artisans Outreach there to come partake in some of our woodworking classes. If you're interested in going down the entrepreneur route, even if you're not in the Fort Bragg area, you can reach out through that Contact Us page on the website. You can also email us at info@ballashwoodworks.com. My secretary will get that. If it has to do with you want to learn or you want to get one of our products, she'll get you in touch with either me or get you taken care of. That's it. And if you want to come visit our shop, 432 Cedar Creek Road in Fayetteville, North Carolina, right off 95. We're just probably 4 miles off 95, exit 46, I think it is, right there by the Cracker Barrel. A couple miles down the road, stop in, see us. We got all kinds of stuff in there that you can just stop in, maybe touch some wood that you've never touched before.
Yeah.
We got stuff from all over the world, things that you'll never get an opportunity to see again.
That's really cool, man. Well, folks, you heard it here. Be sure, I'm going to put his website, of course, email address, everything in the show notes. So also, if you're a veteran or you know a veteran who wants to participate in his programs, then be sure to send him that way. But most importantly, it sounds like people can sponsor seats. So if someone wanted to pay for a veteran to attend those classes, that's something that they would be able to do now?
Yeah. The only thing that we would have to throw out the disclaimer is that would not be a tax deduction yet, because we are not IRS verified as a 501c3. So if you're doing that, you're doing it out of the good of your heart because you believe that our program is a way that we can make a difference and a positive difference in the life of somebody in this area.
That's
military
awesome.
family that needs to connect with their children, or husband and wife that need to reconnect after a deployment. All of our products, including our table, our furniture, everything can be shipped across the United States. We have freight handlers that can handle that stuff. So we can go anywhere you want us to.
Nice.
Everyone loves our work.
That's awesome. So yeah, you guys know about the coffee and the websites in the description. So if you're a business owner, veteran or a veteran business owner, you need a website or you need coffee, caffeine, or CBD infused coffee, those are in the show notes. If you learned anything from me or Kurt or any of our episodes whatsoever, be sure to leave a 5-star review, subscribe, and most importantly, please tell your friends to subscribe as well. I appreciate you. Thanks so much for being here, Kurt.
Thanks, Ryan. It was a pleasure.
Yeah.
This has been the Business and Brews Show, hosted by yours truly, Ryan Smeltz. Edited and produced by Ryan